Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Life's of Mom. I'm so excited to introduce our guest today. Actually, I met her last week. We went to that mansion event, and I just hit it off with her. And literally, the first text I messaged you, I was like, "You're my favorite person of the night."
That was really sweet. That's really funny because I was wondering. I'm like, oh, I hope you mentioned how we met, which was literally just a few days ago. And I'm going to say I don't usually do podcasts. Like I've done one years ago, and I've been invited to do many before. I'm more of like business related, design related. But I was like, no, like I had a good feeling. I'm like, no, I'll do her podcast. It seems like it'll be fun and easy and relaxing. But I'm usually not one to, but today we were going to. So.
Yes, and I'm so happy you did. And I know you were like, oh, I can't have certain alcohol. So I was like, okay, bring green tea shots. But of course, you didn't feel well. So she brought us, what is this? Where is this from? This looks amazing. It tastes delicious.
It was the coffee shop around the corner. It's like a hibiscus iced tea.
It tastes so, cheers.
I know, cheers. I know. So I was like, oh, well, this is probably a healthier choice anyway. But yes, I was going to bring the green tea shots, but it didn't happen.
We're all about wellness here.
Mm-hmm. So funny.
Oh my gosh. So tell all the listeners a little bit about yourself and what do you do?
So my name is Leanne Yarn Alkali. I say it that way because I still have not changed my legal last name to my husband's last name, but also my business is Yarn Design Associates. So it's just easier for people to remember yarn, but I'm an interior designer. I moved to Boca Raton about 12 years ago. I'm a born and raised Floridian. So I grew up on the other coast of Florida, St. Pete, Florida. Moved here 12 years ago for better business opportunities. And then I met my husband, I think 2.5, 3 years after moving here. Wow. And just so everybody knows, which we're going to dive into this conversation, I'm actually a converted Jewish woman. So I did not grow up Jewish. Believe it or not, my dad actually grew up Mormon and my mom grew up Catholic, and we grew up like non-religious. Whoa. So everyone's like, wow, that's like such a stretch or such a change. But we didn't grow up religious. You know, my parents taught us like the 10 commandments, you know, live your life by the 10 commandments, which are great commandments to follow. Yes. And my aunt, my mom's sister, married a Jewish man. So all my first cousins on that side are Jewish. So it wasn't like completely out of the norm for me. But when I did move to Boca, you know, I was single. I started dating a few guys and everybody was Jewish. And I remember calling my mom, and it wasn't because I was looking for a Jewish man. It was just, I didn't realize how many Jewish people lived in Boca. And I remember calling my mom after like the third date I went on with a Jewish guy. I was like, Mom, should I just convert now? Like everybody here is Jewish. And then, you know, like after a few of those dates, you know, then the conversation when things start to get a little more serious were, well, you know, my mom's never going to approve of you because, you know, you're not Jewish. Yeah. And it was like, wait, so you're going to date the shiksa, but you don't want to marry the shiksa? Like, hold on a minute.
Oh my God.
What? So when I met Tomer, my now husband, it was very, very different. So they're Israeli. I married into a big Jewish Israeli family. There are 70 of us and counting, all living within a 2-mile radius of each other in Boca, which is crazy.
Wait, I'm sorry.
Yes.
I didn't know that. 2-mile radius.
2-mile radius. Everybody, if you name like one gated community in Boca, there's an alkali in every gated community. And we just did the count because my brother-in-law is the newest member of the family, Isla. Beautiful. Whoa. Everybody has like an Israeli name. It's so pretty. And yeah, number 70. Isn't that wild? God. And a lot of them like work for the family businesses, which is how everybody's able to stay local because of course business always dictates where you know, you move. Right. But when I met my husband, so I went to school for interior design. So when I first moved to South Florida, I always came to Boca. I left interior design for a little bit, and then I got back into it. We met through a young professional networking group called Emerge Broward that another friend had told me to become a member of. Oh, it's a great way to meet young professionals. It's a great way to make friends because I didn't know anybody when I moved here.
Because you moved, yeah.
I knew no one. I had like a tennis friend from club tennis in college. I had my friend from college cousin introduce me, so she became a really good friend immediately. And my first event that I went to, I made friends with a young Jewish man. And we became like besties. And it was because of him that we really kind of got to know each other more. His brother at one point was business partners with my husband. So he would always invite me to things outside of that Emerge Broward group, like more social things. So then I kind of, you know, he was more of like an acquaintance, and then I would keep running into him at networking events. And on his 30th birthday, like we all went out one night and he invited me to his 30th birthday. And I was so excited because he had so many cute friends. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna meet somebody at his 30th birthday. Little did I know, like 4 or 5 months later that we would be dating. So
what?
Yeah, no. So I went to his 30th birthday. Okay. And I told you a little bit about this last week, Thursday, about how the first time I met his family, his entire immediate.
Yes, the mom. Yes.
The entire immediate family on his third. So I'm the fool that shows up.
Wait, so this is Tomer.
This is Tomer. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So this is my husband, Tomer. So he invited me to his 30th birthday. I'm the fool that showed up on time. You know, I'm like a very like type A, like organized person. Like, oh, I'm going to show up today. For his birthday.
You showed up earlier than the time I told you to come. You're amazing.
Yeah, we did. I did. And, you know, I get there and I'm immediately texting my friend, you know, who was like my bestie in the group, who would always, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like the only one here. Like, I don't know who these people are. I think it's his immediate family. He's like, what are you doing? Who shows up on time? You know, I'm like, me, like, you know, he lived in Fort Lauderdale at the time. So I also had to drive from Boca. And I'll never forget it. And I told the story, you know, like a year and a half later when we were engaged at Shabbat. But his mother came up to me and I'm like standing there in his kitchen, like pouring myself a cocktail. They're all playing backgammon, you know, like his nephews, his uncle, like his brothers, like they're all there.
Oh my God.
Okay. And his mom comes up to me. She's so sweet, grabs my hand and goes, oh, hi. This is my horrible Israeli accent, by the way. And she's like, oh, hi. Nice to meet you. My name's Neely. She goes, you go to synagogue with Tomer? And I went, oh, no, I'm not Jewish. And she like taps my hand. Like, she goes, oh, have a good evening. And she walked away. And I was like, oh my gosh, what was that? So when my friend showed up, our mutual friend, I told him, he's laughing hysterically. He goes, that's Tomer's mom. I'm like, oh my gosh. He goes, yeah, that was her way of trying to find out if you were Jewish or not.
Oh my God. I was dying when you told me this on Thursday. I was dying because it's so funny. Like she's not going to come straight up and ask you, hey, are you Jewish?
Yeah. And the joke of it all is that he doesn't go to synagogue.
Oh my God. Tomer.
Like my father-in-law goes, we like the synagogue, but we don't like to go to synagogue. It's like the running joke. And like we've been to synagogue before, of course. Yeah. But they're Israeli, like they're more cultural than anything. I feel like, you know, we do Shabbats every Friday. We do all the high holidays. Like we're always together. Again, the family's massive. So I feel like every weekend in the year is taken up with like a bar mitzvah or a bat mitzvah or a wedding or sometimes, unfortunately, a funeral or, you know, kids' birthday parties. But then it kind of brought me back like, you know, that TV show that everybody watches, Nobody Wants This.
Oh my gosh.
On Netflix.
Yeah.
And when that show came out, the first season, I can't tell you how many friends reached out to me like, Leanne, you should watch the show. It's like the story of your life. I'm like, yeah, it's like the story of my life, except everybody wants this. And my mother-in-law is actually nice to me and adores me. And I didn't marry the rabbi, you know, but it's such a funny show because I can relate a lot to it. And a lot of people who have known me for a long time and know my whole story, they're like, oh my God, this show is like so you. Yeah. It's so you. So 4 months go by. Tomer and I get together one night with a group of friends. That was the night where he was serving me green tea shots. And I'm like, I don't do shots. Like, I'm really not like a big drinker. And I'm like, I'll puke if I have a shot. He goes, no, you can handle this. Like, it tastes good. So that was like our wedding signature drink were like the green tea shots, which I was supposed to bring today, but wasn't feeling too good this morning. So another time we'll have green tea shots.
Yes, for now we'll stick to the healthy matcha.
And it was very different. Like when we were first dating, it just was different. Like he didn't judge me based on the car that I drove, based on where I was living. Something that was really odd when I was dating in South Florida, and I didn't know that this was like a thing, because dating in South Florida was very different from like.
And this was how long ago, more or less?
We've been married. It'll be 8 years in December. We've been together. We were about together for like a year and a half before we got married. So this was like 9 years ago.
Wow.
But dating in South, and I didn't really even date a lot. Like before my husband, I was like with serious boyfriends, like 2 serious boyfriends before my husband. But even dating in South Florida, like I remember on the first or second date, the guys were always like, "Oh, what's your dad do for work?"
You told me this.
And I was like so confused. I'm like, what does my daddy do for work? Like,
daddy.
Yeah. Like, what is the why? Why does it matter? What my dad does? And it felt like interviews. I remember going on these dates with these guys, and it was like, am I on an interview? Like, what do you do for work? Like, what's your dad do for work? Like, where do you live? Like, what? I'm like, can't we just like get to know each other like in a nice, like organic? Well, and again, I'm not saying it's every man in South Florida, but a lot of those guys that I dated, which again, wasn't many, it was like on one hand of a few guys, you know, they came from very financially successful families. And I didn't realize, because again, I'm young, innocent, and I'm a fool, okay, moving to South Florida. And I was raised very differently from the way a lot of people here were raised. You know, it's a very wealthy area where we live.
Boca.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And it's a lot of like New York transplants, and it's a lot of people who've like made it in life and have retired. I mean, let's be real. Like look at the housing market right now. Like look what everything here costs.
Yeah,
it's crazy. It's very expensive. And they were trying to figure out like if my family came from money, like did I come from like a well-to-do financial family? And again, I never understood why it mattered. I'm like, well, I've been financially independent on my own since I was 17. You know, my parents were very loving parents, but when we all went off to college, it was like, okay, you're free to fly. Like you're on your own. Like we all were working, me and I'm one of four. I'm the youngest of four. We were all working, you know, full-time jobs, going to college, going to school full-time and pulling out student loans. It's just the way that we were raised. So when I moved over here and I saw the way a lot of people were living at my age, I'm like, something here is not making sense. Like what's going on here? And people have a lot of help from their parents still, which is nice. You know, that wasn't my situation. But again, like the dating scene was very interesting. It was like, how did these people live in this extremely nice apartment and have these amazing jobs and these amazing cars? And it wasn't until I was married and then doing more business on my own outside of working for someone that I had realized a lot of these kids are still on the family payroll.
Yeah.
It's a big thing.
It is a big thing, especially in Boca. You see that a lot.
I see it a lot. Most of my clients,
even at the age of 40.
But a lot of my current clients today, like a lot of their children are still on the family payroll, or they work for the family businesses, or they're getting, you know, extra help. And when I met my husband, you know, his situation was a little bit different, which I think is why he was more interested in getting to know me at, you know, so soon on a personal level, because he saw the hunger, he saw the drive, like he saw the hustling. He always says too, I was like somebody he's never dated before. He's like, you just genuinely seemed so kind, so sweet. Like you were so like, I know, like it gets me emotional because after you date a few people who don't see that, and then you find someone, it's like, oh my God.
Tomer, you are a lucky, lucky man. Do you hear me?
Yeah. And as my dad would say, luck had nothing to do with it, which I love that too. My dad always says that.
I love that.
Isn't that a great saying? Like you create your own luck in life. So don't ever make anyone, you know, make you feel like you're lucky, because you know how hard it is to create your own luck.
Wow.
Isn't
that
great?
Goosebumps. I've never heard that
Isn't
before.
that a great saying?
That is amazing.
Yeah. I used to have a sign, which I need to make another one. I think we lost it during the move, but it was like Richard Yarn. It was like, you create your own luck in life.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm like getting emotional because like, I'm in a very similar situation, you know, and
you told me a little bit about your story, how when you had children, it felt very isolating, and you started this business and this organization. You have a 1 and a 3-year-old, correct?
Correct. Wow, you have good memory. For a mom, I feel like we forget certain things, but that's very good memory.
So your kids are also young. My kids are 3 and 4.
Yours, except you have girls.
I do.
Shidduch.
Yeah. Yeah. My husband's still waiting for his son. I'm like, with your second wife, you will have a son.
That is hysterical. So you're done.
Funny? Oh, I'm done.
You're done.
I was so sick during my pregnancies, which is also something no one ever really talks about.
No.
You know, tell my mom, I'm like, you know, no one tells you about like the aftermath, what happens to your body after kids, or sometimes during. I'm like, why doesn't anyone ever talk about it? My mom's like, because no one would ever get pregnant if you knew too much.
Oh my God. Your parents have the greatest comebacks. Like I would have, that's true.
Yeah, they do. And it's, I never gained a pound during my pregnancies, which everyone's like, oh, how lucky, again, with the luck. But I was so sick. I was puking so much. I lost 14 pounds my first pregnancy. I never gained a pound. And then my second pregnancy, I lost 12 pounds. And I also, which is interesting, which we'll kind of talk about motherhood and business, because you know how hard it is to have kids and be pregnant and not feel well. But I didn't show for either of my pregnancies until I was about 7.5 months. That's how tiny I was.
Well, may I ask why?
I was so sick. Like they wanted to put me on Zofran, which I wouldn't take Zofran because you hear studies and stories.
Right.
They put me on Bonjesta. I used to take Bonjesta. It didn't really work. I had such a sensitivity to smell. I can't explain it, but it was like spidey senses. I couldn't even stand the own smell of my body wash. I'd be in the shower and the own smell of my body wash would just make me sick. You know, thank God it was during a time kind of during COVID when we had to wear masks, because I was still working and shopping. You know how like all these places now scent their houses and scent their businesses and restaurants?
Yes.
I would walk in somewhere and it was like the smell of what they scented the place with, I'd have to like run to the bathroom immediately and vomit. I mean, it sounds disgusting. It's horrible to say that, but I was just so sick. Like the smell of everything. Like my husband had to like, no garlic in the house, no onions. Like it just made me immediately sick. I couldn't even drink water. I would be puking water. I drank unsweet iced tea like my whole pregnancy. I don't know what it was about unsweet iced tea, but I was so sick. And then my first pregnancy, you know, I made the mistake of telling a lot of people that I was interviewing with that I was pregnant. And then no one wanted to hire the pregnant woman, you know, so that was a really rough year for business for me. So I'm an interior designer. I went to school for interior design. When I graduated high school, I moved back home, lived at home, rent-free, got a job in Sarasota. And then when that wasn't really working out, like I completely transitioned fields. That's how I came to South Florida. And then about 2.5 years later, I went back into design. I finally found somebody who was like willing to pay me a livable wage. Because again, I've always financially been on my own. So when I was interviewing, when I did have my own business, you know, the referrals that came through, like the people knew that I was pregnant, or I would share it in the interview. And then the question came back like, well, what's your plan of action in doing our house when the baby arrives? And it's like, well, we're going to have help. And I was always having to like explain myself. Let's just say Leanne didn't get a single client that year. Okay. And, you know, it's interesting because my husband was kind of the one when our first daughter was born that was staying at home because he worked from home. And I was the one. I'm like, you know, it didn't affect business for him, even though he was the one kind of at home with the nanny or the babysitter. Well, I had to be back on the road and I had to be present at work. So then my second pregnancy, I learned to be a little more quiet. And unfortunately, this is something that women have to deal with that our husbands and men just don't. And I was, again, you have to remember, I didn't show until I was like 7.5 months, almost every pregnancy. So I signed on. And of course, COVID was amazing for our business. Like in 2023, 2024, like so many people fled to, you know, Florida from up north. So I had like the best year, and I had interviewed, I believe it was the beginning of 2023, for like 5 incredible jobs. I got every single job. I was already 3 months pregnant, but not sharing it with anybody this time. So when I started finally showing, I was then telling my clients that I had signed on, like, oh, by the way, yeah, I was going to say, I didn't want to say anything. And it was like, yeah, oh, are you 3 months along? 3.5. I'm like, no, I'm 7.5. And then the look on their faces was like, whoa. And then they started doing the math, realizing, oh, so you knew you were pregnant when we first interviewed with you. It's like, well, yeah, but I had to learn to zip it a little bit.
Isn't that sad?
It is sad. And then, of course, the questions came again. Well, what are you going to do when the baby comes? Oh, my God. I'm like, listen, I've been pregnant the past 7.5 months. Have I missed a beat? No.
And this was your second pregnancy?
My second one. Yeah. And a lot of them, I also didn't share that I had like a 1-year-old at home, or like I had a little one still at home. People worry. Even till this day, when I interview, I don't necessarily share with people that I have small children.
It affects it that much?
Yes. Wow. Yes. We have Boca's a very demanding crowd of clientele. And I think you know that too.
Yes, like I'm around a lot of
it's
my community
It's
too,
a high demanding, you know, I love my clients. My clients are great. Like I'm forever thankful, but it's a tough crowd. Boca's a very tough crowd. And it's a lot of very successful people that have either semi-retired or retired. And I get the concern. Like I do get the concern, because if it was me on the other end of it, like I would probably have some concern too. But I know myself. I know how hard I've worked. I know what I'm capable of doing. And we do have a live-in nanny, which I share with everybody because I don't pretend like I do it all, which sometimes I see a lot of that with moms in our community. Everybody likes to pretend that they do it all. They do it all. And, oh, you know, and it's like, you have a housekeeper coming twice a week. You do have it's kind of like, come on.
Right. I mean, I do talk about that openly, and excuse me, I always felt guilty to share it because not everyone has that. Right.
Right.
So like when I would share that I have a full-time nanny, I have a chef, and I have a house cleaner that comes twice a week, does our laundry. And when they ask me, how do you do it all? To be honest, I blame the support system that I have.
Well, that's how.
And but then I also feel guilty. I'm like, is it coming off as bragging?
No, don't ever feel guilty. The people that don't understand it just don't understand it. And maybe it's because they also don't have a podcast, and they're not organizing all of these women groups together. And there's just some women that you're going to be able to relate to. And there's some women and moms you're not going to be able to relate to. And it is what it is.
I just feel badly because I know what it's like like you. Yeah. I was on my own at 17.
Yeah.
I had worked 3 jobs and I hustled my way up and I didn't know what it was like to be on daddy's payroll. Right. And no offense to anyone that is. I mean, I have to each their own, whatever works for you.
Yeah, good for you.
You know, but that's great. Actually, that's wonderful, right?
I know. It'd be amazing.
But for me, it's just very different. So when now I have the life that I have and I'm so grateful for and I don't take it for granted, I feel badly when, I shared that. But I shared because I don't want, like you said, I don't want people to think I'm doing it all on my own because I'm not. Without my nanny and without the support of my husband, I wouldn't be able to do all of the things that I get to do. And
how could you?
How could I?
It's not possible.
It's really not. And I think it's also not fair because like you mentioned, you couldn't even say that you were pregnant because you wouldn't get clients.
I know.
Like, what is that? Like, because of us is what makes the world go round. We are the ones that, without us, there's no kids.
I know.
There's no future president. There's no future, whatever, dentist, whatever.
Yeah.
And I just don't understand that. Yeah. And it makes me very sad. It makes me very sad. But I like that you said that because I used to think like, I'm not going to share that I have all the help that I have. No. And I'll give you an example. For one of my mom events, we did a pajamas and Prosecco night.
Oh, that sounds fun.
At my house.
Yeah.
And people think I'm crazy because I opened up my, $4 million house to the internet.
Yeah.
But I don't care because we're all moms. Like, we all need that,
Yeah.
And we all come in our pajamas and every mom brings her whatever. And I remember there was one night where like we all put confessions in a box.
Oh, interesting.
No, it was anonymous.
Oh, okay.
Right? So one mom said, I purposely don't answer my daycare's teacher when she calls because I know I have to go pick up.
Oh my God.
We were dying. I was like, wow, okay. And obviously this is anonymous. We don't know who it was.
Yeah,
but
she needs a break. She can't.
But there were 20 women and one of them.
Yeah.
And I don't hold this against whoever this was, but she wrote, I wish I had a nanny and the things that I have because she came to my house and she saw.
Yeah.
And it made me feel guilty when I read it.
Yeah.
Because everyone had to read one out loud and we don't know who it was, but like, I didn't know how to even respond, and I think I said something like, everyone has different situations. And again, I came from nothing.
You know what? My mom, again, back to my parents, and they're saying there's always going to be someone who has more than you, and there's always going to be someone that has less. Just like there's always going to be someone who's prettier than you, someone who's uglier than you, someone who has more money than you, less money than you, someone who's fatter than you, skinnier. That's just life.
But people are so judgmental.
Yeah.
And I think
it's hard. It's hard to ignore the opinions and ignore the judgmentalness. And if you're anything like me, because I've always been such a people pleaser and I'm an emotional person, I'm a Gemini, it eats at you. But the older I get and the more that I do start to, and this is again why I love my husband, because he really just has this I don't give up attitude.
My husband too. That's why they get along.
There it is. Yeah. And it's like, man, like I wish I was more raised like this to just not care.
Right.
And it's hard. It's hard to not care, but he's so good at it. And I'm like, I admire that about him and a lot of people in his family. And again, I don't know if it was like the way that they were all raised. And now I'm going to jump in and transition topics a little bit too, because I, did not grow up Jewish. I didn't grow up with like the traditions of Judaism, but I'm not totally unknown about them because of my cousins, but they were more like American Jewish,
it's a different world.
They were doing Christmas and Hanukkah, like there's no celebrating Christmas in our house or in his family's house, which is fine. Like, and some people ask like, don't you miss, Christmas? I'm like, no, I have a lot of great memories with my family at Christmas. And I also have some like tough memories. Sometimes the holidays are a very stressful time in people's families. It's very costly and you're trying to get the gifts and everything's expensive. It's the end of the year. Everyone's paying their bills at the end of the year. So in a way, I feel like I've gotten to kind of reinvent myself, if that makes any sense. But when, we learned a lot growing up. I grew up in St. Pete, Florida. We have a Holocaust museum. So a lot of our school field trips were at the Holocaust Museum in downtown St. Pete. So I feel like I knew a lot more about Judaism than the average person who didn't grow up Jewish because we had this museum, in our community. So when, all the anti-Semitism, which has become increasingly stronger, when October 7th happened, we have a lot of my husband's family that still lives in Israel. A lot of them are living in Haifa. We have cousins' children who were serving in the army, still are, that were like on the border of Gaza. And my in-laws watch the Israeli news. Like everyone's watching the Israeli news. Like they know people, they have family there. And, when you start to see like what was happening on the internet and all the hate, I I never understood. I'm like, whoa, like it was making me so angry. And I remember we were all at Shabbat one night talking about it. It was hard not to talk about it, but then it was also like, let's not talk about it tonight.
It's hard.
But, my mother-in-law said it best. She's like, Leanne, this has been thousands of years. This is our history. Like, look at every holiday. It's about, they tried to kill us. They failed. Let's eat, So I'm like, God, she's such a smart woman. This is why I love her.
Yes, I didn't think of
and this is why I only will host Rosh Hashanah in my family, because it's like the one happy Jewish high holiday celebrating the new year. Plus the food is good. And, I grew up Italian. The food's very different,
Yes.
So, but it's like depressing. Like you sit at Passover and you're learning about the history and you're learning about, and it's like, this is nothing new for us, Leanne. Like they've been trying to kill us for years. In fact, and my husband says, not just kill us, get us extinct. They tried to extinct us, there's a big difference.
Yeah.
And then when he said that, I'm like, oh my God, that is so true. But for the first time I was experiencing, like the anti-Semitism, and I have 2 little girls. And I'm like, oh my God, like, are they even going to go to college? Like, are they even going to,
scary,
but this is like, they're like, this is normal. Like, this is nothing new. This has been going on for thousands of years, Leanne. And it's like, oh, wow. Okay. So, but, we talk about it. Our daughter is actually, so my kids are not in school yet. I won't put them in school. I'm a little bit like anti-daycare. And again, not for everybody.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of pressure to put my kids in school, but I just don't want them sick all the time right now. And everyone's like, oh, well, they're going to be sick. I'm like, listen, they're sick enough. They go to their tennis. They go to their dance. I do have a private tutor that comes to the house. We have a Hebrew teacher that they're very busy. And again, we have a live-in nanny. She keeps them very busy. But our oldest just got into Donna Klein, which is a Jewish school and academy in Boca, which that's where my husband went. He's an alumni there. That's where a lot of the Alkali family members go. So it'll be really nice that they have their cousins, and I'm very excited, for them to start there. They'll start learning more Hebrew because my husband, unfortunately, isn't speaking as much as he should be to the kids. He didn't learn English until he was 6. So it was always Hebrew, in his home.
To English.
Mm-hmm. And he still speaks today. He still does a lot of business in Hebrew today. A lot of his clients are Israeli. So my husband owns a real estate company. He has a title company. And then oddly enough, which don't think I shared this with you on Thursday, we have a lot of other businesses and investments now. So we own nightclubs.
Shut up.
Yeah.
I can see you guys owning a nightclub. I can.
So it's interesting because everyone's like, nightclub? Like, what do you mean? So my husband went to the University of Florida when it was like the #1 party school. Like when Team Tebow was there and they were winning all those national championships, and the basketball team was winning all those national championships. So he's a little mini genius, little Mr. National Merit Scholar. Okay. My husband, he's going to hate seeing this, but it's true. He doesn't brag about himself. I have to be his biggest bragger.
As you should.
He's very smart. His IQ is off the chart. So when he was in college, it was like a joke. He was party all day, barely showed up to class. He was that jerk in school that everyone hated that would be the first one to turn in his test, never had to study. He's that type of person. So he had made friends with a lot of those guys in the nightlife and always stayed in touch with them. After they had their run in Gainesville, they all moved to Miami, and my husband never lost touch with them. So years later, now my husband's living in South Florida. He's always wanted to be part of the nightlife. So we finally had our opportunity thanks to the friends and the connections he made in college. He made the right connections in college. I was such a nerd in the studio in architecture school. I'm I wasn't partying, but this is the thing. I wasn't going out and partying in college. So he met a lot of really interesting people. So we own a nightclub in Orlando called Celine. It's actually the #1 nightclub right now. And we're profiting more. The club's making more money during the day at these rooftop parties than they are at night because this generation doesn't spend money on alcohol like our generation did.
Makes sense.
And everybody's now into wellness,
Yes.
you were telling me. And then our newest business venture is Midline, which is in Wynwood. It's at the Arlo Hotel. I'm not allowed to call it a nightclub, though. It's a concert venue. Because again, the nightlife is kind of struggling right now in Miami. All these clubs are not doing well. No one's buying tables like they used to. No one's spending money like they used to.
It's changing.
So it's a concert venue, which is great because we can have live music and concerts there and we can book talent. But during Music Miami Week, which just had happened, we had 7 Lions perform. So then it does turn into a nightclub depending on what's happening in Miami. I'm sure Art Basel, it'll be more of EDMC type artists coming through.
Yeah.
But then when it's not in season for that kind of music, it'll go back to being a concert venue. So he's got all sorts of things going on, but that's like the newest one, which is kind of exciting. And I just kind of laugh too, because that was the furthest thing from me, like in high school and college. Like I was Miss Goody Two Shoes. I didn't touch an alcoholic beverage till I was 21.
Wow.
Like we are like complete opposites that way, but it's been fun, like going to the live music. That's what I enjoy. We had this guy come and he played the saxophone and the trumpet. I mean, he was amazing, an amazing artist. I'm like, well, this is what I love about having this. It's not just about the EDMC music and the club music. Like there's a lot of talent that him and the owners are booking that's like live music outside of all night.
Right.
So, but it's fun. And then, we're both very busy. We're busy with the kids. We're busy, with our own businesses. I joke that, but it's all true. Like I spend more time with my employees than I do with my husband now. And it's like at the end of the day, he's still working when I come home. Like he's still on the phone every weekend. He's still talking to people. We're trying to be better about like turning off the phones during Shabbat. I'm like, we have to have a breather at some point, just where we can, talk to each other and it also not be about business or not be about what's going on at work. So, but I will say he's an amazing partner. He's very involved with the kids, which not every man is. So I'm very grateful for that. And I see it all the time with my friends and family members. Tomer was changing diapers. Tomer was bottle feeding. Yeah. Tomer is very hands-on, which I'm like, thank God, like this is why I married you.
Yeah.
So he's very involved, which is really nice to have.
I love that. So you're learning to balance it all. Listen, like you said, you weren't raised in a certain way, like where things were handed to you. So you're a hustler, right?
Yeah.
So you're good at like figuring it out.
Yeah.
And you can tell like you're good at that. And not everyone can do that. It takes talent. It takes a lot of courage also, because again, for me, it was about putting the noise of like what people might think or say in the back. What matters is your circle. That's your family.
Yeah.
Everything else will fall into place.
Is your family here? Is your husband and your family here? Do they live local?
Yes. So not my husband's family.
Okay.
So my mom lives here.
Yeah.
I actually don't speak to my dad.
Okay.
That's part of childhood trauma, which I'm writing a book about my whole life.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And actually, I don't know if many people know this about me, but this is my second marriage.
Oh, okay.
It is my second marriage.
Yeah.
My first marriage, I went with someone who was a goy, who was not Jewish.
Okay.
And my parents said, it's either you stay with us or you leave him.
Really?
And I said,
that's my mother-in-law's story.
Bye-bye.
Wow.
And I left at 17 years old, not having a dollar to my name.
Wow.
And I moved in with him and his family because they were accepting. He was of Cuban descent.
Okay.
American Cuban.
Yep.
And my parents didn't know where I was. My whereabouts, nothing.
How long did you not speak to your parents?
For 6 years.
Oh my gosh.
But what happened is, because we were in high school, he wanted to join the military because it pays, right? For the GI Bill and things like that. Mm-hmm. So we said, in order for me to be able to follow him, I would have to marry him.
Right.
And I didn't feel comfortable doing a wedding without my family. I just felt off. Yeah. So I said, how about we just get married in the courthouse? Nobody will know. Yep. Little did I know that was a public record.
Is that how they found you?
And that's how they found out, because someone saw me with the ring. And in the Jewish community, we all talk. They're all yentes.
Yep.
And came about. They searched me up and they found out.
Wow, this is why you need to write a book.
Yeah.
This is,
but
interesting.
We ended up dying in a motorcycle accident.
No.
While my parents were actually going through a divorce at the same time.
Wow.
And I was in school and working 3 jobs. No, it made me stronger. Yeah. And I always feel him with me. And I believe that he led me to the life I have today. And I'm using everything that I've been through to help people.
That's amazing.
And bring people
You're
together.
Such a strong person, but I could tell that about you when I met you Thursday. Like literally, that's incredible.
Thank you.
I'm so glad you shared that. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, it made me strong, and I still feel him all the time with me.
That's
and
amazing.
He was really an amazing husband.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I love my husband to death.
Yeah.
But he was a different, you know how they say the good die young?
Yeah.
He was too good for this earth.
Wow.
He was the best husband, the best friend. We didn't have children because I knew,
I was just going to say, I know you have, but I would assume they were from
my second marriage.
Yes.
Yeah. So my first marriage, I was responsible in a way where I'm like, I need to make sure I'm financially stable before having children, because it's not fair to them.
Right.
I've seen that a lot where like kids would ask their parents, hey, I want to go on a field trip. And the mom had to say, I'm sorry.
I can't afford to pay for the field trip.
And he was such a good man that he would literally go around, and if he saw a homeless man or a woman, he would go and buy them lunch. And I will never forget, we were on the way to Walmart because that's where we shopped.
Yeah.
And there was a man on a wheelchair at night.
Yeah.
And it was hard to see him. So we ran into Walmart, and you know the construction workers, they wear it so you can see the reflecting.
Oh my gosh, did he buy a vest for this guy?
He did.
Wow.
And this is the type of man.
Yeah, that's a special person.
He was too good for this earth. He really, really was. And I think of him every day. And my husband knows about him, and he understands, and he's very supportive. And he's like, listen, him,
you wouldn't have met you.
So
like they say, when one door closes, another one opens.
100%.
But you know what, though, too? But even hearing that also makes me more grateful about how accepting my in-laws have been with me. I'm the second non-Jewish woman to marry into this family.
Can you explain a little bit how that happened?
So
after the no synagogue.
Yeah. So here's the funny thing. So I did have a conversation with my mother-in-law. Like when we were engaged, I'm very close with her. Like I tell her a lot of things. She's very open. I will say the best thing about my mother-in-law is that she's really not a judgmental person. And she's even said to me, like, you cannot judge. We don't know the situation. Like, how can you judge if you don't understand the situation? And I grew up with a very opinionated family,
Really?
Oh, yeah. Family? Oh, yeah. My mom is like the most opinionated person in the world. Oh, yeah. And it's kind of like opened up my eyes, my mother-in-law, kind of like the way she thinks, and just kind of, how can you judge someone's situation if you haven't been through it? So I remember having a conversation with her when we were engaged, and I literally said, listen, I'm sure you would have preferred a Jewish woman for your son. I know that I'm not Jewish. And she, again, grabbed my hand, but this time, instead of patting it and walking away, she was like, I'm going to tell you something. You are very different. Like, you are very different from most women I've ever met. And I'm going to tell you a story about how I'm Ashkenazi and my husband's Sephardic.
You mentioned that to me on Thursday. Yeah.
And I'm like, what? And I didn't even know what Ashkenazi and Sephardic meant. She explained it to me that night. She said that, and you would think after the Holocaust, because her parents were Holocaust survivors, that everybody would be like so accepting. But there's even racism that goes on within the own communities, whether it's Judaism or even Italian. Like our family's Northern Italian and our skin is lighter than like the Southern Italians. So like there's even like stuff that goes on but in Italy with like the people up north who think they're better than the people from up south because their skin tone is lighter.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, there's like a whole thing about that.
Wow, I did not know that.
Anyway, so my mother-in-law was telling me the first night that she brought her now husband to meet her parents, when he left, because his skin is darker, they said, is he Sephardic? And she said, yes. And they shipped her to London the next day to get away from him. Tell me this. And I'm like, what? And like, she's telling me this the night I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm not, I'm sure you would have preferred that. And she goes, no. And Reuven came and he found me. He's like, oh, what? They thought shipping my girlfriend to London was going to stop me. Wow. So he went and found her. I think she called him from like a payphone. Mm-hmm. He went and got her. And then that's how they, I believe, I don't know if they moved to America first or they went back to Israel and lived there for a little bit, because I know he also served in the 40-year Yom Kippur War.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. So my husband's also one of four. He's also the youngest of four. So his eldest sister was born in Israel. And then she also served in the army because she wanted to go back. But then my husband, his brother, and his other sister were all born in America. Yeah. And they all moved to Long Island and then eventually made their way to Boca, like every Jewish family.
Yeah, legit.
Yeah. So, but she was telling me the whole story. She said she didn't speak to her mother for years. I'm like, wow. And even I think on her mother's, like, it's just never sat right with her that her daughter married a Sephardic man. And, I have a redheaded daughter, thanks to my mother-in-law,
Oh my gosh.
And I guess you have to have the recessive gene on both sides. So since they're Ashkenazi, they have like a lot of redheads in their family. And then we found out before my dad's mother passed that her mother was a redhead, and we didn't even know, because my dad, was telling us when he was a little boy, her hair was gray and white and every photo of her was in black and white. So he didn't even know his grandmother was a redhead. God. So, because we were like, well, we know where the red hair comes from. It comes from the Ashkenazi side, but where is it coming from? And then we found out. So, I joke like there's a little piece of Ashkenazi, and both my kids, Sephardic and Ashkenazi, they're a mix of everything.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. But yeah, to hear a story like that too, I'm like, well, this is why my mother-in-law, I think, was also so accepting of me, because she felt what it felt like for the person who she loved, who loved her, to not be accepted by her parents, which that's got to be really, really tough. So I give you a lot of credit for that too. Because again, I've never experienced that.
Yeah.
You know?
It's not easy, but you know what? I know this is going to sound cliche, but what doesn't kill you doesn't
Only
make
makes
you stronger, you know?
Yeah.
So, but Leanne, you are so strong.
True.
Thank you for coming today.
Thank you for having
You're
me.
so amazing. And thank you for the drink.
I know, our little hibiscus teas.
Yeah, I
Isn't
love
that
it.
Great?
Actually, it tastes delicious.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
I think there's like not much caffeine in it either, which I was happy to
Don't
hear.
worry, I'll have another glass of coffee after.
It's so funny.
But thank you for coming.
Thank you
and for
having
anyone
me.
listening, I'm going to link all of her information in the description so you can reach out to her. And once again, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Yes.